Welcome to 6th grade history. This is lessons 139 and 140. 140 is actually when the test is scheduled, so we're doing 139 and then we'll just double up for 140 and 141. But just for simplicity, I just say that because we've doubled up everything else except for this today. And so we're going to do a review of chapter 14. The homework is to study this chapter plus the states and capitals and to do CCU 14, section C, numbers 11 and 12, and section D, numbers 8 through 11, okay? So that's what I'm going to assign, and we're going to start with saying the states and capitals in the order on the map, okay? So I'm gonna just start going down and do all these little ones, and then New York and Pennsylvania, New Jersey. I'm just gonna go like that, and then we'll move across as we go, and so I'll be pointing to them. If you need to have your book out to reference, and it is one of the maps in the back, it is page 346 and 347. So if you need that, you can get that out. Okay, we're just going to start up here. Augusta, Maine, Concord, New Hampshire, Montpelier, Vermont, Boston, Massachusetts, Providence, Rhode Island, Hartford, Connecticut, Albany, New York, Trenton, New Jersey, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Dover, Delaware, Annapolis, Maryland, Richmond, Virginia, Charleston, West Virginia, Raleigh, North Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, Tallahassee, Florida, up to Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, Frankfort, Kentucky, Nashville, Tennessee, Montgomery, Alabama, Lansing, Michigan, Indianapolis, Indiana, Madison, Wisconsin, Springfield, Illinois, Jackson, Mississippi. We'll go back up to here. St. Paul, Minnesota, Des Moines, Iowa, Jefferson City, Missouri, Little Rock, Arkansas, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Bismarck, North Dakota, Pierre, South Dakota, Lincoln, Nebraska, Topeka, Kansas, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Austin, Texas, Helena, Montana, Cheyenne, Wyoming, Denver, Colorado, Santa Fe, New Mexico, Boise, Idaho, Salt Lake City, Utah, Phoenix, Arizona, Olympia, Washington, Salem, Oregon, Carson City, Nevada, Sacramento, California, Juneau, Alaska, and Honolulu, Hawaii. Okay, so that was pretty simple to go through all of that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the map around. I'm going to point to some and see if you can remember what they are. All right. And keep this lined up. Okay. All right. So you remember what the city and state, capital and state are of this one. Des Moines, Iowa. Okay. Over here, Denver, Colorado. Down here, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Keep in mind, this one looks like an L. It helps with knowing Louisiana, okay? What about up here? This one is Albany, New York, okay? And this one, Augusta, Maine. Okay, the first one after Maine, because these are a little hard to see, I know. That one is Concord, New Hampshire. I had the state and I forgot the city, okay? The one next to that looks like it's flipped over and it's almost the same shape. Montpelier, Vermont. Okay, one right below that is Boston, Massachusetts. This little tiny one, Providence, Rhode Island. The one that's almost double that size next to it, Hartford, Connecticut. Okay, this one has like a weird S, maybe kind of looks like a J shape. Trenton, New Jersey. What about this one? Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. This one that's off the side of this one, it's a little tiny, like, it's hard to describe the shape of this one. It looks like a rectangle just because it's long, but it's not a full rectangle. It is Dover, Delaware. Okay, and this one is separated in the middle with water, and so it's Annapolis, Maryland. Okay, what about this one right here in the middle? That's Indianapolis, Indiana. Okay, these three in line, this one is the biggest, it's Illinois, and then Indiana, and this one is Ohio. So this one is Springfield, Illinois, and what's the capital of Ohio? Columbus, okay? What about this one up here? What is this? St. Paul, Minnesota. What about this one? Really tricky. Cheyenne, Wyoming. All right. There are, I'm not going to go through all of these, so just know that you're going to have to know some of those on the test, and you need to know them well. And so if you are struggling with that, get out this map and just start memorizing, because it is if you don't have this part of the test, you're really going to struggle. So, but just take heart and make sure that you do study really well. Okay, we're going to take a look at chapter 14, and I'm going to ask you some questions from the chapter, and hopefully get you ready to take this test. Okay, who was the doctor who developed the vaccine for polio? Who was the doctor who developed the vaccine for polio? It was Dr. Jonas Salk, okay? And we can do the same. You may not have been keeping track of who got the ones at during the MAP study, but you can keep track of ones that you get before me and see how many points you can get for this. Okay, the first black Major League Baseball player. Okay, Ryan. Anyone else? Jackie Robinson. Okay. I'm actually filming this on Saturday. So just so you guys know, and I just saw Ryan yesterday. And so he asked why I didn't let him answer that question on the previous lesson, and I said it was because I wanted the girls to get a chance to answer something that was baseball related. But it's also because I love teasing you guys. So, but anyway, that's a total side note. So we're going to continue on with our review. So the first Black American to be a performing member of the Metropolitan Opera. First Black American to be a performing member of the Metropolitan Opera was Marian Anderson. Hope you got that. The Black woman who refused to give up her seat on a city bus, leading to the desegregation of the bus system. Black woman who refused to give up her seat on a city bus, leading to the desegregation of that bus system. That was Rosa Parks. Okay, next, a civil rights leader famous for his I Have a Dream speech. Who was famous for his I Have a Dream speech? Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Okay. The Black Supreme Court justice who stressed the importance of moral character. The Black Supreme Court justice who stressed the importance of moral character. His name was Justice Clarence Thomas, okay? Who was the first American to fly in space? First American to fly in space? That would be Alan B. Shepard Jr., okay? First American to orbit the Earth. Who was the first American to orbit the Earth? That is John Glenn. The first man to walk on the moon? Who was the first man to walk on the moon? I'm sure you all know this one. Neil Armstrong. The first woman appointed to the Supreme Court? Who was the first woman appointed to the Supreme Court? Sandra Day O'Connor. Okay. All right. I'm going to ask a definition, and you give me the word that a term for this. System of producing and distributing goods. What is the system of producing and distributing goods? That would be economy. The system of producing and distributing goods is economy. A person who wants to preserve traditional beliefs and values. A person who wants to preserve traditional beliefs and values. What is that? That would be conservative. Conservative. What about an Islamic terrorist group responsible for many attacks, including the attacks on September 11th, 2001? An Islamic terrorist group responsible for many attacks, including the attacks on September 11th, 2001. That was Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda. Okay? Practical science. What is practical science? That would be technology. Technology is practical science. The radical Islamic group that had gained control of Afghanistan and provided shelter for Al-Qaeda. The radical Islamic group that had gained control of Afghanistan and provided shelter for Al-Qaeda. That was the Taliban. The Taliban. What about a person who endeavors to break away from traditional beliefs and values? A person who endeavors to break away from traditional beliefs and values. What is that, the definition for? That would be a liberal. Liberal. Okay? And the belief that communism should be stopped before it can attack and enslave a country. The belief that communism should be stopped and before it can attack and enslave a country. Okay? Thinking back to who was president at the time. They give you a clue. That was the Reagan Doctrine. Okay, the Reagan Doctrine was the belief that communism should be stopped before it can attack and enslave a country. All right. What legislation guaranteed voting, housing, and job rights for all Americans? What legislation guaranteed voting, housing, and job rights for all Americans? It was the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Okay. I don't know if it gave you enough time for that one, but so sorry. What does NATO stand for? What does NATO stand for? It's the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. North Atlantic Treaty Organization. That's what NATO is. What is its purpose? What is its purpose? It was formed to prevent communism from spreading to the West. Okay. What was the new frontier? What was the new frontier? That was President Kennedy's welfare program. Okay. And then what was the Great Society? Was President Johnson's social reform program. Okay. What Supreme Court decision legalized abortion? What Supreme Court decision legalized abortion? That was Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade. Which president made a major commitment to fighting communism in South Vietnam? Which president made a major commitment to fighting communism in South Vietnam? That was President Johnson, okay? And who opposed a clear military victory? Who opposed a clear military victory? It was the Congress. They opposed it. Which president resigned because of the Watergate affair? Which president resigned because of the Watergate affair? It was President Nixon. That was the Watergate affair was for him. What do we call the attempt to return America to the traditional values of church, family, and free enterprise? What do we call the attempt to return America to the traditional values of church, family, and free enterprise? That was the Reagan Revolution, okay? The Reagan Doctrine was opposing communism, okay? The Reagan Revolution wanted to bring America back to where we were before, okay? What happened on September 11th, 2001? What happened on September 11th, 2001? Al-Qaeda terrorists attacked the World Trade Center in New York City and the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. This was the worst attack on American soil since Pearl Harbor. Okay? In which two countries did the U.S. military attack terrorists in the War on Terror? In which two countries did the U.S. military attack terrorists in the War on Terror? The first one was Afghanistan and Iraq, okay? What two events caused a slowdown in the space program? What two events caused the slowdown in the space program? We looked at one the other day, and the other one was a little before that. So it was the explosions of the space shuttles Challenger in 1986 and Columbia in 2003, okay? What storm was the costliest in U.S. history? What storm was the costliest in U.S. history? It was Hurricane Katrina. And why were Iran and Iraq and North Korea called an axis of evil? Why were Iran, Iraq, and North Korea called an axis of evil? All of these countries sought to acquire weapons of mass destruction. Iran and Iraq harbored and supported terrorists as well, okay? So that would be why. You also need to know and be able to, they know what the presidents are noted for. So I'm gonna let you guys study that and just so this video doesn't go on too long, but make sure that you study well, study your states and capitals on the map so that you know the location of them. And if you need to make some sort of, use some sort of mnemonic device to remember cities and capitals to or states and capitals together, do that. Hopefully that you've been studying these as we've been going and you are ready for that portion of the test, but your test is in the next lesson. So please study well. Don't forget to do section C of chapter checkup 14, numbers 11 and 12, and D, numbers 8 through 11. Okay, we'll see you next time.